Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dropping the Gloves. Thanks for joining us here. Tim's just loving the new bedroom that he's got going in the backdrop. Very exciting. Mostly when you have a professional podcast, and you have a YouTube aspect to it. You're encouraged to have a nice studio, some stuff for people to look at. I have my All-Star Game jersey. I have a goal puck here. I got my first game thing. I got a bottle of wine from Jumbo. I got my Michigan Tech clothing brand, Tupper Up North. I have some Catholic paraphernalia. Tim's got a bed behind him. I think it sets the tone for just the type of guy you are. You know what I mean? You don't mess around. There's no foreplay. Just straight to the bed. Is that the message you're sending to our listeners, Tim?
Well, first of all, the bed is here because it was a guest room this past weekend because Julia's parents were in town. They left yesterday, which is weird because today feels like Monday to me. It's Tuesday. So it's the beginning of the week and I have lots to catch up on. And we have another guest coming in 2 weeks. So we're just going to leave the bed here for now. But I think I might be overruled and it's staying here because Julia likes the idea of it being a guest room. I like the idea of it having a couch and an office. So we compromised, and it's going to be a guest room. That's yeah. I don't know. It's fine. It's fine. No one watches on YouTube anyway. It's just we get the listeners by the thousands and the watchers by the less than that.
I know, but YouTube's so fun. I love watching stuff on YouTube, and it's not. I just put it on my headphones when I work, and then if someone says something, I just click on and go, "Oh, that's what's going on YouTube." But anyways, thanks for joining us, everybody. We appreciate it. We are on to the second round. Very exciting. Now that we're down to two episodes a week, we miss a lot. A lot happened since our last episode. We're kind of rounding up the first round. Dallas had to play Colorado Game 7. Then we had Winnipeg and St. Louis Game 7. And it's funny how the NHL works. People scoff at it sometimes. Oh, it's the fourth of the big four. Football, basketball, baseball, then hockey. I challenge you, Tim, to find a more enjoyable, exciting, edge-of-your-seat action game than those two Game 7 games. It was incredible hockey. And the fact that hockey doesn't get the national spotlight that it should is crazy. Baseball's insanely boring. Football is exciting for 10 seconds at a time, and then you sit for 5 minutes, and then you have another 10-second play. Basketball is kind of exciting, the playoffs. The last quarter is really good in basketball, but the first three are just kind of ho-hum. Hockey's edge of your seat the whole time. And those two games, I'm not going to talk about what happened in the games. Everybody knows what happened. Mikko Rantanen went just crazy mode and carried the Dallas Stars to the second round. And then the St. Louis Blues just had a brain fart and blew the game in the last 2 minutes. And then obviously they lose in double overtime with Kyle Lowry. Fittingly so, taking his team to the second round. Good for Kyle Lowry. Adam Lowry. I don't know why I'm thinking basketball now with the Raptors, but it's just, is there more exciting, was there more exciting games, Tim, than those two games? It was incredible hockey. It was incredible drama.
No, I stayed up for that Winnipeg Blues game, and I was, chatting with the folks, our slackers, and it was just a blast to watch. I was ready for bed, right at 9:30, expecting the game to be over. And then, of course, it wasn't. And then the overtime, the double overtime. And what was cool, and this is kind of unusual, I think, is especially in the first round, is teams typically play to very carefully in overtime. They wait for the other team to make a mistake and capitalize on it. But not in this game. It was like both of them were just creating chances early, taking risks, creating offense, driving to the net, pinching at the blue line, that sort of thing. Just tons of chances left and right. Bennington was amazing in overtime, but so was Hellebuck. You have to give him a lot of credit for all the weaknesses in the series, and probably earlier in that game, he bounced back really strong and just an incredible finish, incredible win. I was disappointed. I picked the Blues to win that, but the better team, I think, did win at the end of the day. Now they're going to have the handful with the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, like I said, we're not going to spend too much time on those games, but just incredible. We'll see how Connor Hellebuck not responds, but if he can carry this momentum into round two, because everybody knows he's a great goaltender, but can he do it on back-to-back nights? Can he do it on the road, basically? Because he was just atrocious on the road. That's the issue here. But before we get into the round two action and predictions and recapping the game one last night from Toronto, Florida, the NHL Draft Lottery snuck in last night. And lo and behold, there was a little bit of an upset. a little bit of a shocker. The New York Islanders jumped from their 10th position all the way up to number 1, shocking everybody. The San Jose Sharks, the Chicago Blackhawks, everybody in the NHL world, they get the number 1 pick. They haven't had the number 1 pick since they drafted Johnny Tavares 20-some years ago with the number 1 pick. So good for them. They lose Lou Lamoriello. They get the new GM who is yet to be determined, still a vacant seat, and now they get to go and pick the number 1 prospect in the world. Rightfully so, it's supposed to be a down draft. That's okay. You're still getting a superstar potential with this number 1 overall pick. Someone to come in and just give this team some much-needed youthful energy. They really have been stagnant, Tim, for the last couple of years, trying to figure out what to do with this roster that's a blend of aging veterans, but also some young guys with some potential. This'll give them a shot in the arm for the Islanders.
Yeah, well, did you see the whole conspiracy theory about this, starting with the governor of New York and then the whole Long Island Commission? Basically, they sent an open letter to Gary Bettman yesterday, May 5th, earlier in the day, that they weren't happy that the NHL All-Star Game next year which was supposed to be in New York, is being replaced with the Olympic preview event and just getting rid of the All-Star Game. And they were not happy, and all this stuff. And all of a sudden, 6 hours later, the Islanders get the first overall pick, jumping 10 spots. 3.5% is what their chances of getting the first overall, and they got it. And Utah was 3.2% of getting second overall, and they got it. So yeah, some people are kind of putting the tinfoil hats on here that Bettman had to make good by the Islanders by giving them this, which I don't know if I believe that, but it's certainly interesting.
Utah got the 4th pick, Tim. I don't like to correct you, but I just want to correct you.
That doesn't matter. Go back to the conspiracy theory. That's the point.
I trust Gary Bettman. I trust the process. Gary is one of the most, if not the most, upstanding, trustworthy person that I know. So I'm not on board with this. This is not the podcast I want to run. I don't want to be slandering people. I don't want to just get into the gutter. You know what I mean? I don't want to play in the mud with the pigs. Okay. So it was just an on the board lottery system. I saw the ping pong balls myself. I saw number 13 come up through the hopper, and that was the New York Islanders. So you need to just pump the brakes on these conspiracy theories because I don't like them. And good for the New York Islanders. My former teams, the San Jose Sharks, Chicago Blackhawks, they get 2nd and 3rd. Good for them. Utah Hockey Club gets 4. Still don't have a name. Predators get 5. We picked them to win the Stanley Cup. A lot of people, they get the 5th overall pick. The Flyers get 6. And your Boston Bruins dropped again as far as they could possibly drop. You can jump 10. You can drop 3. The Bruins drop 3 spots. They fall to number 7. And then it's never an episode unless I just take a huge steaming pile dump on the Yzer plan. The Detroit Red Wings get the 13th overall pick, which will be a superstar based on the Yzer plan. Very, very solid pick for them. Instead of unloading all their good players and maybe trying to get in the top 5, not Stevie Y, baby. He holds tight and doesn't trade anybody. This is the result of that. You now have the 13th overall pick. Suck on that one, Yzerman. How do you like them apples? It's going to be just a middle-of-the-tier player who will not have an impact on this team forever. All right, that's my annual Yzer plan, just crap fest. But anyway, should we move on to the playoffs, Tim?
Yeah, let's start in the West for a change. I feel like we're always starting in the East. And this is the one that's going to start, I think, tomorrow night, Dallas versus Winnipeg. And this is, I think it's going to be an outstanding series, obviously, and there's a lot to pay attention to, certainly with Dallas, the star-studded team they are. When Miro Heiskanen comes back, when Jason Robertson's come back, they're both expected to be back at some point in round 2, probably not the first game, but hopefully for their sake sooner than later. And there's the whole Team USA goalie matchup, where Hellebuck and Ottinger are, the best goalies in their country. And one of them will be representing Team USA as the starter in the Olympics next year. I think it's probably going to be Ottinger at this point based on just the big game factor. And Hellebuck is, give him 40 games, he's going to be great, but give him 3 important ones, he's not. So, there's a lot to like about this series.
Oh, it's a hell of a series. The part that scares me if I'm the Winnipeg Jets, the Stars are getting back their best defenseman and their best offensive player, arguably. Maybe with Mikko Rantanen takes that spot. The Jets are losing, potentially, their best defenseman and their best offensive threat in Mark Scheifele and Josh Morrissey. Josh Morrissey went out in Game 7, 3 minutes into the game, and he didn't play the rest of the game. So The verdict is still out on him. They're tight-lipped on injuries in the playoffs, so we don't know the effects and if he'll be back. But the fact that he didn't play the rest of that game, the most important game of this season, Game 7, when we had him on the show. The guy loves hockey. He wants to get on the ice, so he was probably doing everything he could to get on the ice. And the fact that he couldn't make that happen, and now the quick turnaround for the second round series, I don't expect him for Game 1. If he's out there, he will be injured, and he won't be the same Josh Morrissey that I have. That makes me nervous around the Winnipeg Jets. Another thing that makes me nervous is Mikko Rantanen. Holy hell! That has, and if there's any other credence to what I've always said, it takes a superstar to win a Stanley Cup. This is it. Dallas has had great players, Rupe Hintz and Sagans and Robertsons across the board. There's very few superstars in the league who show up when you need them to show up. The McKinnons, the Kachucks, the McDavids, the Crosbys, those are superstars. Kucherovs. Rantanen is in that group. And for him to do what he did, Tim, in Game 6, even though they lost, and in Game 7, dragging them to the second round, holy crap, Carolina must be sitting there going, damn it, why didn't he like us? What was our problem? Like, how good would it be to have him on our team? You know what I mean? We would be a Stanley Cup threat every single year if he's on our roster. So the fact that the Dallas Stars now have him and are getting back a former 50-goal scorer in Jason Robertson, getting back a number 1A defenseman in Miro Heiskanen, oh boy, that's scary if I'm the Winnipeg Jets looking at this team coming into Winnipeg. I'm like, damn it, really? This team, second round? Like, that's intimidating, Tim.
It is, yeah. And I think the thing that makes me nervous is Dallas put away one of the best teams in hockey in 5 games. A team that I had winning the Stanley Cup. This is the team that was absolutely stacked. And they just showed them that they were the big brother. They were the better team. Meanwhile, the Winnipeg Jets took 7 games, 2 goals with the goalie pulled, double overtime, just to get by the second wildcard team. And I know there's a whole bunch of factors that go into it. I'm not gonna say that this is the only thing that matters, but it's gonna come down to Connor Hellebuyck. And which version of him are you going to get? Which version of him are you going to get on the road is certainly going to be important. Luckily, they do have home ice advantage for this series because they're the number 1 seed. But all eyes on him, and he's going to have to deliver. He's going to step up because that Dallas is going to bring it, and at the other end of the ice, Ottinger is going to bring it. So it's going to be really important that Hellebuyck delivers because his team won't win if he doesn't.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. The defense is suspect without Josh Morrissey. The offense is okay. I think Winnipeg plays not okay. It's still pretty good. You got Connor, you got Velarde, you got Ehlers, you got Perfetti, who really played great in Game 6 and 7. He was an incredible player coming in and just making awesome plays left and right. But you're missing that dynamic aspect in a Mark Scheifele. They are a good hockey team, but without those 2 guys, they become very pedestrian very quick. And you need Connor Hellebuyck to steal 2 games. Tim. He has to steal 2. He can't play like he played in St. Louis and expect to win. Obviously, second round teams get better. Your margin for error is shrinking. You can't mess up. You can't give up a beach ball. St. Louis was good. Dallas is much better. You can't expect to just lay an egg 2 games and win the series. Dallas will take 1 in Winnipeg. I have no hesitation to say that. This series will be 1-1 going back to Dallas. So, I don't know. I don't know the odds coming out of Vegas, but I would be shocked if Winnipeg was favored. Dallas had a terrific first round. They're getting players back. Mikko Rantanen woke up, and he is just, man, is he fun to watch. That second power play goal. And I know I didn't want to go back, but it was just a thing of beauty. They had 1 minute and 45 seconds where Colorado was just stifling them. Down the ice, Logan O'Connor shorthanded chance, Makar icing it, just not getting anything going. Rantanen says, I'll take it. Takes it in his own zone, goes coast to coast, wraps around. I know it goes off Girard's skate. Still, he initiates and makes up the whole play himself. It was just a beautiful thing. He said, screw you guys, you suck. I'm doing this. And he just slices through the whole Avalanche team and scores. And how much, did you imagine, you ever think about what Nate McKinnon's thinking? Just watching on the bench, and the guy's got a hat trick in overtime. He's got 4 points again in the third period. What the hell? He's looking up in the GM box. Really? Really? We couldn't sign this guy?
We have an
Really?
idea of what he thinks because he called it the worst loss of his career. And now people are starting to say well, the opposite of what we used to say is that can McKinnon deliver without Rantanen? Now, obviously, that's tongue in cheek. Like McKinnon is that top three at the worst player in the NHL, but
Yeah.
there's certainly something there. And I think Rantanen had the final word on this conversation that he is a superstar regardless of where he is and in what situation. And he proved that in Game 7.
Well, McKinnon got 11 points in 7 games plus 5. Like, McKinnon did his thing. It wasn't a case of that. But I think what we did get answered was Rantanen wasn't like a cause and effect type thing of Nathan McKinnon. Like, Rantanen can do it on his own. He is that guy. He is an incredible hockey player. It'll be fun. Reports are coming out that Dallas could dress an all-Finnish line. Now with Heiskanen coming back, and obviously you got Rupe Hintz, they could do all Finns up front, all Finns on the back end. So with Mikael Granlund, Rupe Hintz, Mikko Rantanen, and you got Heiskanen. I don't know who the hell the other Finn is on the back end. Maybe Lindell is Finnish, maybe?
I think so, yeah.
Who cares? Finns are so nice. They're nice. They're nice people. You could say anything to a Finn, and they would go, oh, okay. Like, they're just so cordial. Yeah. Oh, that's nice. Oh, very funny, John. My Finns suck. You guys are the weakest nationality. You guys are Sweden's way better. Oh, you're very funny, John. It's just like, you guys are the best. All right, let's stay out west then, Tim. What's the other series going on out west?
What's up, guys? Tim here. Listen, if you've been listening to the show for a while, then you know that I have an adopted rescue dog named Levi. He was around 6 when I got him. He's 8 now, and he's the sweetest and most loving companion you could ever hope to know. Dog owners know what I'm talking about. You want the best for your pets to help them live as happily and healthily as possible. That's why we partnered with The Farmer's Dog. The Farmer's Dog makes feeding real healthy dog food easy and convenient, and your dog will absolutely love it. Levi is obsessed, and he's been licking his bowl clean every day. The Farmer's Dog makes and delivers fresh, healthy dog food right to your door. It's developed by vets, nutritionally balanced, and made from real meat and veggies to the same safety standards of human food. A healthy diet isn't just important for people. It has all kinds of benefits for dogs, too. From healthier coat and skin to better breath, even easier digestion. Levi's energy has been so much better since making the switch, and he looks forward to mealtime in a way that he never has before. The package came in and everything was personalized with Levi's name. I mean it when I say these guys love pets the same way that you do. And now you can join the movement and get 50% off your first box of fresh, healthy food at thefarmersdog.com/gloves. Plus, you get free shipping. Just go to thefarmersdog.com/gloves to get 50% off. That's thefarmersdog.com/gloves. Yeah, the Vegas Golden Knights versus the Edmonton Oilers, and these two teams do not like each other. They split their regular season matchup 2-2, but 2 years ago they played each other in the playoffs, and the Vegas Golden Knights won in 6, eventually going on to win the Stanley Cup. But this is two teams that's going to be vicious, and I think it's they're very oppositely built, where Vegas is, they have some stars up front, but they rely on their depth, they rely on their goalie. And they're hoping to rely on him more than they did in Game 1. Meanwhile, obviously, at Edmonton, it's copy-paste, same stories every year. It's McDavid, it's Draisaitl, it's a questionable goalie, it's a thin defense, it's an empty bottom 6. But those top 2 guys are so good enough that they can make up for it sometimes and even win a couple of games in a series. So there's a lot to look at here. And I think we'll start with one of the big questions for the Edmonton Oilers is what do they do with those 2 guys? Do they put them on the same line? Do they put them on different lines? We've seen different combinations in the last couple of years from Knobloch. And I think what Bruce Cassidy, the head coach of the Vegas Golden Knights, is he's looking at what they're going to do, and he's going to adjust his lines accordingly. And that specifically relies on William Karlsson, who had a couple of points in the first round, but what he's really good is shutting down other teams' top guys. And it's one of those names we kind of forget every year until the playoffs. And you watch a game, you're like, oh, Willie Karlsson, I totally forgot. If you remember, Minnesota started off really hot in that first round, even though they split the first couple of games, but it was Kaprizov and Boldy, and those guys were just crushing it. Bruce Cassidy mixes up the lines. He put William Karlsson on the top line with Eichel and Stone, and all of a sudden the series changes completely, and they almost eliminate and basically neutralize that Kaprizov line. So they're going to look for the Karlsson to do the same thing. I think they're going to start with that, and then they'll mix and match depending on what the Oilers do. But Willie Karlsson is going to be a huge impact on what the Vegas Golden Knights try to do in the second round here.
Yeah, I do think if you're because that's what got you success in the LA series. You had to shift to that. You went with the two big dogs and you played them a half an hour a game. And it's the same old thing with the Edmonton Oilers. And we've talked about this with the Leafs for years. When you pay a few players that much money, it's hard to round out the lineup. So you're inevitably going to be top heavy. And with the Oilers, it's just noticeable because these two guys are so good. And when you look at the games and you look at the point outputs, it's like they're the guys. And Evan Bouchard has lifted himself into that company. So I think they have the three-headed monster with McDavid, Draisaitl, and Bouchard. Those are the three guys who are the engine of this team. After that, it's pretty pedestrian. Like it drops off. Nugent Hopkins, I think, has dropped off his play. Zach Hyman isn't the player he was a couple years ago when he was scoring at will. And then that's it. Like Corey Perry has his moments, Evander Kane has his moments, and you got Jan Mark and Frederick and Henrique. Like they have good players, Tim. But it's a top heavy team. So we've been singing this song for a long time. Who's going to step up? Who are you going to get to play with those guys? Can you have a deep team? Can you go deep in the playoffs with a first line only lineup, a top heavy lineup? And they said they could last year, and they did it. But they also had some pretty solid players that are not on this team this year that they lost. So can they do it again? I don't know. And then conversely, you mentioned the Vegas Golden Knights, so deep. They didn't have one guy get a point per game in the first round. I know they only played 5 games, but still, when your top point getter gets 5 points, you played 6 games. Sorry, they went 6 games. That screams of depth. That screams of we're just rolling the lines. Everybody plays 14, 15 minutes. You get your ice time. What you do with it is what you do with it. And the fact that, like you mentioned, their best players, Stone, Eichel, and Carlson, they're a defensive-minded line now. Like they were tasked with shutting down Kaprizov and Boldy, who went nuts in the first 2 games, and they did their job. And now we're looking at this series. Their job will be to shut down McDavid and Draisaitl. So they're not focused on scoring goals. So that it just speaks to the team-first mentality of this group. It's like a lot of guys wouldn't be able to do that, Tim. Swallow that kind of pride and just go, you want me to be a checker? Like I'm Jack Eichel. I'm Mark Stone. I'm your best offensive outlet here. Like I'm a great option. So I love what Bruce Cassidy has done with his team. Everybody's humble. Everybody wants to win the Stanley Cup, obviously, but they're willing to forego offense to do that, which is hard for a player to do because you want to be that guy. You want to score goals. You want to do the celebrations. But no, okay, I won't do that. We can let Thomas Hertl have the spotlight, and I will try to shut down McDavid. Yeah, I might get 1 point, but we'll win the series. So it's pretty neat to see that they've just bought in. A lot of teams won't do that, Tim. But it's going to be a great series.
You also can't talk about this Edmonton Oilers team without talking about the goalies. Obviously,
no.
We all know the story with Stuart Skinner year over year, and he just was letting in beach balls in the first round. And they switched to Calvin Pickard, who's expected to start game 1. He's won 4 straight games, but he's done it playing just okay. 893 save percentage, 293 goals against. Like, they're not stellar numbers. They've been good enough to beat the LA Kings, but you have to think that they're going to want more from him. And obviously the Vegas Golden Knights are a better team. Meanwhile, Aiden Hill was also just okay in the first round. He wasn't the reason they won many games, although he did get better as the series went on. So I think both teams are hanging their hat on that as the series went on, they kind of found their guy and found their stride. But I think either one of those could end up imploding. And certainly Calvin Pickard, the spotlight's going to be on him. Can he be a reliable number 1 goalie? And like you always say, it's like, just don't cost us the game. It's okay if you let in 2 or 3, but don't let in the beach ball. Don't let in the easy ones and suck the air out of our room, because give us a chance to win. That's all we ask.
Yeah, obviously I'm trusting Aiden Hill more than Pickard. Hill's won a Stanley Cup. He's a little bit older. He's got that experience under his belt, and Pickard's a rookie thrust into this situation where it's like, crap. Like I'm the guy now. So again,
Calvin Pickard is 33. Just FYI,
he's not a rookie. Oh, woof. That's even speaks worse to how he's played. I thought this kid was a rookie. But
no,
it just
like 10 teams.
Yikes, never a starter, but it just speaks to how bad it is in Edmonton and how they haven't addressed this position. And everybody was screaming for it from the rafters. Stuart Skinner was great. Like he played great last year. Get a veteran who can come in and be the stopgap if Stuart Skinner shows his true colors, which he did in the first round. He was absolutely atrocious. Picard's not the answer. If you're thinking this guy is going to win you the second round, I'm sad to disappoint you. I don't think he will. And this has always been the issue. And again, it's a broken record. It's the top-heavy team, it's the average defense, and it's the bad goaltending. This is the case with the Edmonton Oilers year after year after year. And obviously there's years when it's better and years when it's worse. This is bad. Stuart Skinner is really, really bad. And Calvin Picard, a young kid coming right out of college, I think he's 23, he's not good. Just kidding, Tim. But it's, I don't know. I want Edmonton to win. I really do. But they can't do it with this duo. They really, really can't, because Vegas will get their opportunities. They have a good power play. They have great offense. They have defensemen who are opportunistic and are going to jump up in the rush. This kid, I don't know. The 4 games he won, he did not look good versus LA. Not good at all. So I just don't see Edmonton overcoming that issue. I really don't. We'll get to our picks in a second, and also the fact that they're missing their best defenseman on the back end, like a defensive defenseman in Matthias Ekholm. There was hope he was going to return in the second round. He's not returning, unfortunately. So you're out him. You're going to have to play the snot out of Bouchard and Nurse is terrible. You know what? I touched on it last week when defensemen drop and then they slide. Watch the games now. How often that happens. Once you notice it, it happens all the time and it never works out well. Drew Doughty does it all the time. It's obnoxious when defensemen do it. And it's like, why are you taking yourself out of the play? And the forwards are so good now. They can sauce it over your stick. They have patience. They wait till you slide by or they speed up a little bit and pass it in front of you. You're just a pylon, like literally a 2x4 sliding on the ice. You've taken yourself out of the play. You can't do anything. And I don't know why it's taught these days. Defensemen just lay down in the crease these days. That's like a defensive strategy. Oh, there's a forward coming at us from the corner. Let's just lay down. You can't use your stick. You can't swivel your head. You can't do anything. I don't know why it's taught these days. I think it's a terrible, terrible way to defend. The goalies hate it because you're just sitting there. And then if it does hit you, the puck just sitting there. You can't play it. You're completely unable to do anything. You're laying on your side. You going to grab it with your hand and take a penalty? I don't know. That's another thing for another time. But yes, should we do predictions on the West Coast, Tim?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, Vegas, Edmonton. I think I've let the cat out of the bag with my prediction. I think Vegas wins. It'll be 6 or 7, though. What do you think?
I like Vegas in 5, although I will say I think we're going to pick the same 4 teams for all 4 of these series. But I'll start with Vegas.
All right, Dallas, Winnipeg. I think we both are going to take Dallas 5 or 6.
Dallas, yep.
All right, let's move east. We got Toronto, Florida. They had their first game last night. It's an interesting game. I came into this really high on the Florida Panthers. Not so low on the Toronto Maple Leafs, but low due to the fact that they're playing the defending Stanley Cup champions. And I think everybody had that mindset of like, oh, Florida's going to run them through the boards. They're going to make this a street fight, and it's going to be the same old Leafs. And it didn't happen. The Toronto Maple Leafs came to play. That first period was exactly what Toronto needed. Willie Nylander scores 33 seconds in, then he gets another one, then Jake McCabe gets on, then Morgan Riley gets on the board. You finish the first period up 3-1. The place is rocking. That's exactly what the Toronto Maple Leafs needed for this series. They almost came out and just punched Florida in the face. They said, this is our series. We are the higher seed. You guys have to play to our tempo. And Florida eventually came back and did that. But I think just shaking off the Willies, if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, that was a great first period for them. And I think they'll carry that into this series because they know when they play good, they get results like this. What did you think of that game, Tim?
Well, winning game 1 was so important for Toronto for all the reasons you just mentioned. It. What stood out to me is just their ability to battle back and bounce back. Like they go up 2-0 early, and then someone scored? Florida scored. Seth Jones, right? You think, okay, here we go. It's starting to even out, and they respond right away with the goal from Morgan Riley, and then it's 3-2, and then Matthew Nye scores. So like you're getting that like immediate response, and that's what coaches love to see, and that's what the good teams do. That's what Florida's always done, for example. So the fact that they were able to do it against Florida is really big, and not something we've seen from them. And so they go to the second round last year. This didn't happen. This is the different team that looks different. Yeah. Again, it's only one game, but you have to be excited for them. Although there's certainly some question marks moving forward with this roster.
Yeah, and it was 4-1, not 3-1 to 3-2. I hate correcting you, but I just think details are important. That 4-1 score, Tim, is very scary for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Obviously, up 4-1 versus the Boston Bruins. The Bruins came back and just whomped them in the third period, and the same thing happened in this game. You're up 4-1 entering the third period, and Brad Marchand, here we go again, 4-2, 4-3. The key to this thing was Craig Berube calls a timeout, and this is where coaching really matters. I feel like in years past, Sheldon Keefe maybe wouldn't have done that. He would have started to panic like the players. He wouldn't have been able to right the ship and calm the storm. Berube gets him in, rallies the crew, and he goes, hey, we're fine. We're up 4-3. We're a good hockey team. I don't know what he says. He's probably cussing him out. Anyways, Matthew Nice comes out, and he gets a breakaway, and he scores a beautiful backhanded goal to put him up 5-3. And then it's 5-4, obviously Sam Bennett, but they win the game. It's those types of moments. Coaches are pretty useless for the most part on the bench. The assistant coaches put the guys out. They tap who's going up next. The coaches are just managing the assistant coaches for the most part. Those little moments, critical. Craig Berube did his job there. Toronto gets the win. Huge, like you said. Huge to win that first game versus the Panthers. But I think both teams feel pretty good coming out of game one. The Toronto Maple Leafs, maybe not so good. They're starting goaltender. Backup goaltender for the Florida Panthers last year. He's played great all season long. Definitely their starter. He gets injured. And it's public enemy number one, Sam Bennett, who injures Anthony Stolarz. Kind of a innocuous play. Sam Bennett driving the puck from the corner, comes through the crease, he catches Stolar's head. And not even that impactful, but he definitely does it. And no one's touching Bennett. Stolarz stays in the game a little bit. He goes to the bench, barfs everywhere. They obviously pull him. He goes to the hospital. No one knows his status. Obviously, he has a concussion. You don't barf for no reason. You barf because you get a concussion. He's done for this series. I would imagine. You're not going to all of a sudden throw him in next game. Maybe he comes back in game 5 or 6 or 7. For the next couple, you're not seeing him. You get Joseph Woll. What do you think of this play, Tim? First of all, intentional by Bennett? Suspension worthy?
I think so, although it was reported just 10 minutes ago by Chris Johnson that he is not expected to face any supplementary discipline.
People hate that.
No suspension, no fine, nothing. And what I think the reason for this, and I understand why Leafs fans are upset, and I would be too, and I think it probably was some intention there, but there's so much deniability because the play's right there, so he has a right to go to the net. It's not like he's going out of his way to collide with the goalie. And he doesn't actually stick his arm out. There's not a distinct motion where you're like frame. Okay, elbow to face. Yeah. It's it's all in a hockey play. And I think the history tells us, and what we know about Sam Bennett and the way he plays, it probably was intentional. But it's not enough in the video replay to point at it and say, this is what you did. This is why you're getting fined or suspended. So it's right on that line. I'm not surprised that he's not getting any discipline here. I understand fans are upset. And I just mostly feel for Stolarz, obviously, who was in the hospital last night, and he's home now. It just came out a couple minutes ago, but he's not going to be back just yet or anytime soon. We don't know the timeline here. And what sucks for the Leafs fans is, too, if they end up losing this series, this is going to be the reason why. Yep. And they're gonna have a right to be upset, but you don't want you want them to win or lose based on what happens on the ice on the hockey plays, not on this questionable stuff. So I hope it doesn't turn into that, although I still think Florida takes this one.
Yeah, this is Sam Bennett MO, and this is why I think people are upset, because for some reason the league protects Sam Bennett. I don't understand why. This is not the first time he's done this. He's been a controversial player going back to the last 2 years in the Florida Panthers playoff runs. This is what he does, and I think it was intentional. Obviously, he knew what he was doing. He's taking the puck to the crease. He picks his head. Yeah, there wasn't a movement of forearm out extending. He knew exactly where his head was. He didn't move, up and back. He's holding his ground, and I think he should have been suspended. I think he should have got 1 game, maybe 2 games. But for whatever reason, they were tired of suspending Florida Panthers. Aaron Ekblad was out for a suspension for his hit, so he'll be back in game 2. But yeah, it's tough for the Leafs. I know Joseph Woll had a great season. He's not Stolarz. And we saw that in the third period when he came in. A couple weak goals. The defenseman goal, balls Leakins, that should have been saved. Even Bennett's goal to make it 5-4, that should have been saved. You got to hug that post and keep that elbow hidden. It's tough. What are you smiling at?
Balinskis.
It's not Balls Leakins?
It's not balls lickings, no. That was
What?
it's just funny the way you said it. Yeah, yeah. I hope he's back. There's no timetable yet, but I hope he's. I don't want this to be the reason that the Leafs fall behind a couple of games. And I think Wall is actually really good. You could argue that he was just coming in cold into a very tight game against a good team. That is the reason there's some soft goals there. And you give him a couple of days, you give him a chance to start the game. Maybe you see a different version of that. But God, I hope
you like Wall. You've always liked that guy.
I've liked him ever since that Bruins series. He's like, wow, this guy, he's real. He's good. He's not doing what we saw from Samsonov and Freddie Anderson and all these other Leafs goalies. Jack Campbell. He was better. So, again.
I agree. He's a good player, but he can't win them a series. Is there any concern that Matthews and Marner 0 points in this game? Toronto scores 5 goals. That's great, but the goals came from, Willie Nylander, who's never had an issue scoring in the playoffs, and two defensemen score, and then your game winner by Matthew Nyes.
I think not super, because also no goals from Matthew Tkachuk or Barkov or Verhaeghe or Reinhart. So I think there's probably just a little bit of lines canceling each other out there, and it was the third and fourth lines that really stepped up and delivered here. Almost, Nye scored obviously, but yeah, I'm not super concerned yet.
Okay. Will they wake up? Not wake up because they had a good first round series, but I don't know. I think whatever first line gets it going in this series, I think that'll be the difference maker. Will it be Tkachuk, Barkov, or is it going to be Marner, Matthews? I don't know. Time will tell. This is going to be a great series. All right, let's get to the picks here. Who do you got? Toronto, Florida.
I know it's Toronto's already up 1-0, but I'm still taking Florida in this one. I think it probably goes the distance in 7 games just because they're down, but I like the Panthers here.
Oh, boy, I wanted to take Florida. No, excuse me. I wanted to take Toronto, but this Stolarz injury, I think, changes my pick. Just because it's such a big, impactful injury. I don't like Joseph Woll like you do. I think he's a good goalie, but I don't think he wins in this series. Bobrovsky will play better. You're getting Ekblad back. I think Florida takes this in 7. This will go the distance, but it's going to be Florida with the win, unfortunately. All right, moving on to the last series out east. Washington, best team in the Eastern Conference this season, playing the Carolina Hurricanes. Obviously, Carolina snuck by the New Jersey Devils in 5, and Washington snuck by the Montreal Canadiens in 5. Out of the 4 series, this is not the most sexiest series, but we need to talk about it because there's only 8 teams left in the NHL, and these teams deserve our time. So we're going to do our best. They split the regular season 2-2. They haven't played in the playoffs since the Caps won the Stanley Cup in 2018. So there's a lot of history here. The deadline pickups by the Caps have been paying off in spades. Beauvillier has played great, playing on the first line. Ryan Leonard hasn't missed a beat. Obviously, the Caps traded for Logan Thompson and Chychrun and Dubois and Mangiapane in the offseason. They signed Matty Roy, friend of the show, so they've been playing great. And everybody knows what Carolina did at the deadline. They ranted in debacle. They got Stankova, and they just signed Taylor Hall to an extension, so that's good for him. But I think, Tim, across the board, Washington's deeper. They're more dangerous. With the Freddie Anderson injury, the Carolina goaltending is kind of a big question mark there because Kochetkov did not look good. Even though they won those games, he did not look good when he played, whereas Logan Thompson was terrific. He is maybe the most underrated goaltender in the NHL right now. He's fantastic. So when you start, comparing things, first line, second line, third line, goaltenders, defensemen, Washington wins. I don't know what area that they can outplay the Washington Capitals. Physicality, high-end scoring, scoring from the back end. What area can you see Carolina coming out ahead versus the Capitals?
Well, it's so interesting you say that because I don't know what they're looking at or what you're looking at and how it's so different. But FanDuel Sportsbook, I'm looking at it right now. They have Carolina minus 178 to win the series. So very, very highly favored. And in fact, they actually had Carolina as the second most favored team to win the Stanley Cup behind only the Dallas Stars. And so I wonder what they're looking at and how we're looking at the same thing, coming up with total different summaries, because I agree with you. I think Washington's a better team. I think they're a more physical team. They're stronger. They're bigger. They got some big bodies there. I guess you could look at the age and say, you know what, like the Ovies and Tom Wilsons and Carlsons, like, yeah, they're just up there. And will their bodies wear down? But I don't think so, especially since they haven't gotten out of the first round in like 6 years, like you said. So there's not a ton of mileage there, even though they are a bit older. And it always comes down to Carolina, the superstar question. We can talk about Aho. Like you had Gensel, that didn't, get you any further. Rantanen obviously didn't work out. You've had different guys come and go. Can Aho enough be the guy? Can Svechnikov be the guy? Seth Jarvis, friend of the show, has been awesome, and none of them had to be that great to beat the Devils in the first round. But I think the Caps are going to be a tougher matchup. So I'm looking at the Canes lineup and saying, okay, if you guys win, if you win this in 6-7 games, whatever it's going to be, who's going to be the guy that steps up? Who's the guy that says it's me and follow me? And I think it's probably Aho, but I would think Jarvis is going to be right there too.
Well, I think the guy it has to be is Svechnikov. So Aho will be good. I'm not worried about his play. We know he's consistent. He's going to show up. I think Jackson Blake has been terrific this season. The rookie coming in, he's been really good on that first line. But you need Svechnikov, Tim. Like that's the only way I can see them winning this series. Because if you're not getting him scoring goals, opportunistic goals, power play goals, you have no chance. And he was supposed to be the next Ovechkin. Like that was the label on him coming out of Russia when he was a young kid. Like that was the trajectory he was on. And he got that 40-goal season. I think it was 4 years ago he signed the big ticket, and it's just been a steady descent down to mediocrity. I think he's getting 25, 30 goals a season. That's not what we need from him. We need 45 goals from you. We need a guy who's our superstar. We need our trigger guy. And that's why they brought in Gensel. That's why they brought in Rantanen, because Svechnikov hasn't been that guy. He was terrific in the first round. He got 5 goals. He got that hat trick. So can he outduel Ovechkin? They fought famously in 2018. The young Russian rookie coming in fighting Alex Ovechkin in the first round. It was incredible hockey. Can he do it again? I don't know. I really don't know. So it's Svechnikov or bust for me for the Carolina Hurricanes, because they need that X factor, and they haven't had it in years past, and it hasn't been him in years past. Can he be that guy? I don't think he can. But if he is, they have a chance to win this series, because we know Ovechkin's the X factor. We know Tom Wilson has what it takes. Like, those guys been there, done that, and they're not slowing down. Wilson was a force in the first round. He single-handedly won them that series with his physicality. So it'll be a great series. These guys have a history. They play each other a ton in the regular season, and this will be a fun series to watch. But I do think, Tim, going to my pick, Washington's just too strong, and I think they win this series. Like, I don't want to say a sweep, because it's hard to sweep in the NHL, but I think they win in 4 or 5. As tough as that is to say, because our Slack channel is dominated with Caniacs, I think the Caps win in 4 or 5.
Yeah, I think the other thing to keep in mind for the Canes is that Freddie Anderson was hurt in Game 4, didn't finish the series. He's probably expected to be back, and Kochekov's a pretty good goalie too. But
Kochekov sucks.
You're going to need Anderson. You're going to need him at his best. So he's expected to be back. I think he will be, but that's just something to keep an eye on too for this series.
Yeah, I agree. So that's it. Who are you obviously taking the Capitals?
Yeah, I'm taking the Caps. Yep.
All right, so we got all 4 picks. It's going to be fun. We got games tonight and games throughout the week. It's going to be a great second round. Anything else, Tim, you want to touch on? Maybe the Calder Trophy candidates?
Yeah, just real quick. So it was announced last night that Lane Hudson, Macklin Telebrini, and Dustin Wolf were the 3 finalists, and it was just obviously a great rookie season for all of them. And there was one odd man out. There was going to have to be, just because there were 4 rookies that had just outstanding season, and that's Matvei Mishkov. I think it's probably the right pick, because how do you pick one of the other 3 guys to sit over him? But it just speaks to how good he is that we're even talking about the fact that he's not a finalist, even though he was outstanding all season.
Yeah, it was fun to see these kids play. It was, one of the best rookie classes I remember seeing in the last 5 to 10 years. So good for them. This class, not nearly as strong projected by the scouts, but what the hell do they know? So good for him. I think the obvious winner is Lane Hudson. What he did this season was incredible, breaking assist records in Montreal that have, that's a 100-some-year-old team, and he's coming in and smashing records. So good for him. Good for these 3 guys. It bodes well for the future of the NHL. Celebrini is the new Bedard. He's incredible. So that being said, thank you for joining us, everybody. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will talk to you Thursday. Cheers.